Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Gopi Janabalabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Janabalabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Gopi Janabalabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajagacharya Tutarasata E Si Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki. Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajagacharya Tutarasata Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki. Nantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki. Prince Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardham Ki. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki. Shri Mayapur Dham Ki. Shri Jagannath Puri Purukshottam Aksheta Dham Ki. Ganga Mai Ki. Yamuna Mai Ki. Bhakti Devi Ki. Srimati Tulsi Devi Maharani Ki. Harinam Sankirtan Yaga Ki. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki. Itai Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudiraye. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 19, the Lord begs charity from Bali Maharaj. Text 40. Tat yata vriksha unmula Tat yata vriksha unmula Shushyat-yudvartate chirat Evannashtan rita sadya Atma shushena samshaya Tat yata vriksha unmula Shushyat vartate chirat Evannashtan ritaksadya Atma shushyena samsaya Tat yatha vriksha unmula Shushyat vartate chirat evan nashtan ritaksadya atma shushena samshaya. Tat, therefore, yatha, as, vrikshaha, a tree, unmulaha, being uprooted, shushyati, dries up, advartate, falls down, achirat, very soon, evam, in this way, nashta, lost, anritaha, the temporary body, sadhyaha, immediately, atma, the body, shushyet, dries up, na, not, samshayaha, any doubt. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. When a tree is uprooted, it immediately falls down and begins to dry up. Similarly, if one doesn't take care of the body, which is supposed to be untruth, in other words, if the untruth is uprooted, the body undoubtedly becomes dry. Purport. In this regard, Srila Rupa Goswami says, Prapanchikataya buddhya harisambandhi vastuna mumukshuvi parityago vairagyam palgu katyate. One who rejects things without knowledge of their relationship to Krishna is incomplete in his renunciation. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.266. When the body is engaged in the service of the Lord, one should not consider the body material. Sometimes the spiritual body of the spiritual master is misunderstood. But Srila Rupa Goswami instructs, Prapanchikataya buddhya harisambandhi vastuna. The body fully engaged in Krishna's service should not be neglected as material. One who does neglect it is false in his renunciation. If the body is not properly maintained, it falls down and dries up like an uprooted tree, from which flowers and fruit can no longer be obtained. The Vedas therefore enjoin. This is a long Sanskrit. We'll try to read it. Om iti satyam neti anritam tad eta pushpam palam bacho yat satyam saheshvaro yasat vi kalyana kirtir bhavita pushpam hi palam bachaha satyam vadatyataitam mulam vacho yat anritam yat yata vriksha avir mulak sushyati sa udvartata evam evanritam vadan avir mulam atmanam karoti sa sushyati sa udvartate tasmat anritam na vadet dayeta tuetena. The purport is that activities performed with the help of the body for the satisfaction of the absolute truth, Om Tat Sat, are never temporary, although performed by the temporary body. Indeed, such activities are everlasting. Therefore, the body should be properly cared for. Because the body is temporary, not permanent, one cannot expose the body to being devoured by a tiger or killed by an enemy. All precautions should be taken to protect the body. Tat yata vriksha unmula sushyatadvartate chirat evam nashtan rita sadya atma sushyena samsayaha. When a tree is uprooted, it immediately falls down and begins to dry up. Similarly, if one doesn't take care of the body, which is supposed to be untruth, in other words, if the untruth is uprooted, the body undoubtedly becomes dry. Om Ajnanati Mirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangulangayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Bande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Tinamine Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatyade Shatarine Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So good morning everyone, thank you for coming to Srimad Bhagavatam class. So we'll continue with the transcendental teachings of who? Shukracharya. So as we know, Shukracharya is been concerned about his situation, more than concerned about Bali Maharaj's situation. See? He is, by the surrender of Bali Maharaj to Sri Vamanadev, Shukracharya will lose. It's like if you have a friend who is maintaining you with money, and somehow you know that by doing a specific business he will lose all his bank account. So then you try to advise in so many ways, but trying to be his well-wisher, appear as the well-wisher, but actually you're just trying to protect your own situation. And it will be more evident in the next verses tomorrow and after. How Kani is Shukracharya. But here, basically, saying that you can, basically what is coming later, you can lie. I mean, you don't have to uphold your promise to Vamanadeva. You don't have to give him everything as you promised, because you have to protect yourself, your body, your material aspect. You're allowed to do that. And Srila Prabhupada is always taking the best from Shukracharya, and he's giving us immediately the instruction in the level of the Vaishnava philosophy, which means that this energy of Krishna, which in Bhagavad Gita is described as Bhumira Po Nalovayu, Kalmanor Buddhi Evacha. Krishna is helping us in Bhagavad Gita to understand that there is no such a thing as material in the absolute level. It's just an energy of Krishna. So although this body is made of elements that are the form of the body is subject to time, to the material law of time. Nevertheless, is an energy of Krishna, and as everything that pertains to Krishna should be used for the service of Krishna. So therefore, not only the material body, but everything else is, in ultimate sense, is a paraphernalia of Krishna. Of course, the Vaishnavas make distinctions, and they can, depends on the level of the Vaishnava, they cannot use everything for Krishna. But this is more, as Nityananda Prabhu was mentioning yesterday, about the impracticality of the jnana process, in which you reject this energy of Krishna as material, as an illusion. So Maya as a phantasmagoria, as something that we don't have anything to do. But this is a concept that is not complete. So rejecting the material world, which is impractical because you are still in the body, so rejecting the material energy is not going to work for a transcendentalist, so therefore even a Maya body or a Brahma body, they have to engage their bodies in their process of yoga. Even the yogis also, the dhyana yogis, they have to engage the body, and they have to do the asanas and keep the body healthy. The same with in the jnana process, they have to use the intellect. So the intellect is a material, the buddhi. Buddhi, they have to free themselves through buddhi. So therefore, they have to use the material energy in the service of Brahman, to understand Brahman. And the yogis, they have to use their body to realize Paramatma. So there is no question of neglecting the body actually in any process. But the difference is that in the Vaishnava philosophy, Gaudiya Vaishnava, the material energy becomes sacred. And it's not only a tool to achieve a goal, but it can become even worshipable in itself. So therefore, for instance, the body of the spiritual master can be worshipped. And is a body made of the material elements, but because it's engaged in the service of Krishna 24 hours, 24/7, is considered as spiritual. And so the conception of how to see how to live in the world for a Vaishnava is different. It's not more necessarily a threat. The karmis, they see the material world as romantic, as something, a promise that it will give me happiness. So the material objects are all worshipable in the sense that they will provide happiness. And this is like the philosophy of carpe diem, which means that live the day, today, because tomorrow we don't know what will happen. And so even though karma yogi, they know that matter is temporary, but they want to enjoy it now. And again, and the Gyanis, they will go completely to the opposite. But Vaishnava philosophy is more like a balancing point. And this verse that Srila Prabhupada is quoting from Rupa Goswami is a perfect balancing point between renunciation and sense enjoyment, the two opposites, embracing the world and rejecting the world. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is explained that a person who is qualified to practice Bhakti Yoga is someone who is not very much disturbed by the material world, and also is not very much attracted to renunciation. It's not 100% there, and it's not 100% rejecting the world and embracing the other. It's in between. So therefore, one who rejects things without knowledge of the relationship to Krishna is incomplete in his renunciation. So Bhagavad Gita is giving fundamental instructions. And one of those fundamental instructions is to learn this connection between material energy and Krishna. Therefore, there is you have the 7th chapter, which is knowledge of the Absolute, and it starts in the first verses by putting very clear that everything that you can see in the world is an energy of Krishna, either superior, para or apara prakriti. It's comprised of the living entities or all the elements that cover that living entity. And then Krishna starts explaining how he is the essence of that energy. He's the Gandham, he's the fragrance, he's the light of the sun, he's the fragrance of the earth, the essence of Bhumi. Then water, or Bhumir Apo, he is the taste of water. Bhumir Apo, Analo Vayu, and fire, he's the sun, he's the light of the sun, the fire. He's the son of ether, Kam, I am the son of ether. Bhumir Apo, Nalo, Vayu. And he's on the purifiers, he also said later on, he's the air. He's air. So that way, as a preliminary stage, a person aspiring to serve Krishna, to enter into the realm into the spiritual realm, has to begin from what he got, where he is or she is, and start acknowledging Krishna in that. That will be the opposite to be a Mayavadi. Mayavadi means, Vada means Maya. Vada means pervading. And Maya means that you see everything is Maya. So in Krishna consciousness, you become a Krishnavadi, trying to see Krishna in everything. And that's the instruction of Bhagavad Gita in the 7th chapter, 10th chapter also. So that's a basic instruction. However, many times in the beginning of the spiritual life, what we learn actually is that everything is Maya. So you come to the point that even you see Maya as objects that are sacred, for Krishna, like prasadam. Everything you start seeing as a threat, like eating, because you focus too much in other aspects that are not from bhakti. So this aspect of rejecting the world, then you can become, when you start learning the philosophy but still it's not clear, you start rejecting people, you start rejecting even, you hear that Pacho vegan, manashakroda vegan, that one should control the tongue, so you reject prasadam, but instead of just trying to eat in a way that is healthy, you take it as a process. So then you, instead of seeing prasadam as a manifestation of Krishna, you end up seeing prasadam as something that it will harm you, or it will make you sick. So we start mixing things. The same with and then we start judging devotees also with this material conception, which is called in Upadeshamrita is Prakrita, which comes from neophyte. And so drishtai swabhava janitarva papusascha dosha. You see faults even in great personalities, even in the spiritual master, because you are judging everything from the material level. See? Like Ramachandra Puri, he was judging Lord Chaitanya on that level also. He had understanding, okay, a sannyasi is someone who controls his tongue. So, but this Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's eating with the other Vaishnavas, and they eat a lot. And actually in Chaitanya Charitamrita, prasadam is a big thing. Like it's one of the themes of Chaitanya Charitamrita, prasadam, the exchange of prasadam. It's a loving exchange. But for Ramachandra Puri, he couldn't see that loving exchange between the devotees and Lord Chaitanya. So he criticized Lord Chaitanya for eating more than necessary. And even other devotees, Jagannatha Pandit, he will invite them to take prasadam and then give them a lot and then say, oh, now I understand. I hear that these Vaishnavas eat a lot, and now I'm seeing with my own eyes. So he himself will invite the devotees to take prasadam and then criticize them, and criticize Lord Chaitanya. And this is the mentality that we judge on material considerations, and without trying to go deep into the instruction. Therefore, for instance, if the spiritual master gets sick, you may think, oh, maybe he commits sinful activities. That's why he's sick. Because there is that teachings in the scripture that we know that the root of suffering is avidya. From avidya comes vijam, which is the desire for sinful activity, and then papa, sinful activity, and after you commit a sinful activity, you suffer. So then we apply this to the Vaishnavas. And so you see, or then we learn about offenses. That if you commit an offense, then you have to suffer. Then one devotee he has an accident, and you say, oh, he commit offense. So that can be a materialistic way to see the Vaishnavas and the spiritual master. If we don't make the distinction between when something becomes spiritualized, like something is the energy of Krishna, used for Krishna, it becomes spiritual. So therefore, even a building like a temple, it is not an ordinary building, it becomes sacred. And whatever you are using for Krishna, it can have that character of being sacred, as far as it's been used in the service of Krishna. Therefore, how we treat even a harmonium that is like doesn't have anything transcendental, but because it's used in the temple and for Krishna, then it should be taken care of properly. Same with midangas, with everything. And this is an attitude toward life that Rupa Goswami is given in his teaching, by saying engaging everything in the service of Krishna. Yukta Vairagya is the word that you can use everything for Krishna as far as you can practically put it in service of Krishna. Otherwise, there is no need for rejecting something as material if that can be used for Krishna, especially in the unsteady stages of bhakti in which we still have so many attachments. So you cannot practice on the level of Raghunath Goswami bhakti. So Raghunath Goswami exhibit the highest stages of renunciation. But the point that we may miss is that he didn't practice renunciation as a process. So his renunciation was a product of his devotion to Krishna. Therefore, every time he needed less and less. And Lord Chaitanya, another point is that he was very pleased with Raghunath Goswami because of his authentic renunciation. Which actually what pleased Lord Chaitanya was the devotion of Raghunath Goswami. And okay, so Bhagavatam is explaining that Vasudeva Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha, that by practicing bhakti, then jnana and vairagya will come as a sub-product of bhakti, but not as a process. In the beginnings of devotional service, Rupa Goswami explained that jnana and vairagya, renunciation and knowledge of the difference between matter and spirit, is useful, but later on, especially renunciation, can make the heart very hard. So, an example of that, there are many examples. For instance, I think it was Vasishtha Muni, he was practicing austerities, and when one Apsara tried to disturb him because of, there is a whole pastime about the demigod sent her, he just burned her with his sight, just look at her and it made her ashes. He manifested anger because she was disturbing his meditation. But because of that anger, he fell down. He has to start again and again. But for instance, we had the opposite with Haridas Thakur, who was practicing bhakti, was relishing the holy name, and when a Apsara came, a prostitute, in front of him, he didn't become upset with her. Instead, he showed her love, but in a devotional way. By chanting. He just continued chanting Hare Krishna, and so he rejected her association that she was asking him to come and enjoy with me. And Haridas Thakur didn't become disturbed. He said, when I finish my rounds, you will never say that because you chant 60 rounds or 20. Haridas Thakur was chanting all day. And so he knew that he would continue chanting and chanting. And so at one point, the prostitute became purified just by hearing Haridas Thakur's pure holy name. And so this renunciation of Haridas Thakur, it wasn't a process that he just sat there to chant Hare Krishna to exhibit a renunciation. It was natural. So it's a product of devotion. He said, Parandrishva nivartate. It's a higher taste. So that's the concept. And however, in the beginnings of a spiritual life, in our own practices, of course, we have to use renunciation, and we reject things we actually embrace the rules and regulation of the scripture, that automatically, by embracing the rules, you practice renunciation. You have to exhibit some renunciation. So therefore, at the beginning, yes, you give up meat-eating, illicit sex, and gambling, and meat-eating. But that's not the focus. So the focus is in become attached to Krishna. So therefore, in the ashram life, the focus is always in the practices of chanting and hearing. And whatever else that is not within the 64 limbs of bhakti, that start by surrendering to taking shelter of a guru, asking questions, taking initiation. And then there are many items, like worshipping Tulsi, worshipping the deity, and within the deity there are many rules and regulations. This is the process. If we try to make another process and start concocting like our own austerities like that, then we start messing up the service. And then these rules become very difficult to follow because we are so focused in following other things. And however, if we practice the limbs of bhakti, renunciation, how will come? If you surrender to Guru, then within that surrendering is implied a lot of renunciation in due course of time. If you take a service, in due course of time, that service will bring a lot of austerities, and then you perform them. But you're performing bhakti, and bhakti requires you to perform some austerities. For instance, in terms of eating, like if you do preaching, there will be some time that you cannot eat because the food is not proper. You cannot offer to Krishna. So you may go in many hours without eating, and maybe 1 day, 2 days, drinking on water, or maybe a very simple food, some fruits, and you do that very happily. And then when you have prasad, there is a feast, then you take and you celebrate. It's nice. And then the next day you may again don't have that opulence. But it's not a process that when you have opulence you say no, I don't take. No, that's not the process. The process is that you embrace, you take whatever is necessary, and you glorify in this case the prasad. So honor. It's always honor. But never saying like, oh, no, it's honor, okay. This I can some things you can take, some things you cannot take, but this is not the process. You're taking care of another aspect, which means health. Taking care of health is fine for service of Krishna, but it's not it's not austerity. Austerity is not taking care of health. Austerity is when you are healthy and you suppose you don't need something because you have to serve Krishna. No? Suppose you have to serve the deity, and then you cannot eat during the service. So that will be an austerity within an instruction of bhakti. Or you don't eat because your spiritual master, you're serving your spiritual master for hours, and you cannot eat because you are serving him. So you cannot take the time for eating yet until your spiritual master will tell you, because you are doing personal service. Suppose you are traveling with him, so your first concern is that he gets everything. And so that will be an austerity. Then other things to take care of our health, which makes sense, and this is also explained here. And So I just wanted to mention that at the beginning, especially if we just embrace the practices of bhakti, then automatically will come this other austerity. But sometimes because there is a stereotype of the spiritual practitioner, we bring that stereotype to temple environment or other environment, and that creates harm. It harm your spiritual life, because then you cannot understand the Vaishnava. Especially, I'm talking about devotees, pure devotees, or devotees who are very advanced. You don't understand them because you see a sannyas and you have a stereotype of what a sannyas should be. And then you see the sannyas is sleeping in a bed, or someone is taking prasad for the sannyas, and you say, it's supposed to be renounced. You know, like that. So you cannot understand. But if you understand the concept of serving Krishna, then everything else can be understood. That the duty of the sannyasi is that he should serve Krishna. And in serving Krishna, sometimes he will perform austerity, sometimes he will embrace certain facilities that will allow them to serve Krishna. And so, for instance, Lord Chaitanya, he was giving pleasure to the devotees by taking prasadam with them. And the devotees were very happy, very enlightened. And after Ramachandra Puri criticized him, he stopped eating. So the devotee became very upset with this other devotee because he ruined that mood, no, of that loving exchange that they had with Lord Chaitanya, no, feeding him prasadam. Because they were, Ramachandra Puri was seen from a materialistic point of view, from the stereotype point of view. And the same with Srila Prabhupada, he was criticized because he was behaving externally sometimes like an ordinary person and not as a sannyas. For instance, like doing business, check, going to the bank. You know. Well, the stereotype of sannyas is not like that. No? The stereotype sannyas is someone always carrying very little luggage and going in the forest, naked, barefoot. You know. And then they see a sannyasi with silk cloth, not Srila Prabhupada, very like a gentleman, walking and leading with money, talking about money. Again, but if we understand from the main duty of Srila Prabhupada was to serve Krishna, in order to serve Krishna, he was doing all this. He was facilitating the Hare Krishna movement for thousands and thousands of people. So therefore, he needed temples and many other things. The Goswamis of Vrindavan, they had the same level of Srila Prabhupada. No, they are both are in the parampara. But even Rupa Goswami, who made this verse, explaining the concept of Yukta Vairagya, he himself was living in a different tree. No? Every day we know in the Sad Goswami Ashtaka. So, but he understood. He was doing that because his service required that. So they were so absorbed in writing, that they were eating very little. Even sometimes they will forget eating. And they didn't require much. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he also practiced the same concept in a very different way, the same like Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He was working, he was has a high position, he was dressing, you can see the pictures, now how well he was dressing. And the Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he was sometimes using the most modern technology of the time, like a motorcycle, and he will go in a car, sometimes he will dress like a British. And so you can see a constant, how? Then you see the picture of the Goswami and you see these great acharyas like that. But the idea is the same. They are serving Krishna. In order to serve Krishna, they will take different forms, different situations. So therefore you cannot judge a standard of Vaishnavas by externals. You only can judge Vaishnava by their surrendering to Krishna, how they are engaged in service to Krishna. Otherwise, many things happen, like that you get very confused, and it's like you cannot understand, oh, what is the quota for everyone? Oh, I see this devotee is using a car, and this devotee is not, it's walking, or what happened? This bhakta, he's more renounced than this sannyasi. Like, you start confusing things. This is a kanishta. You cannot relate with other devotees because you cannot distinguish who. So you think, no, maybe I should serve this bhakta because he is sleeping in the floor. He doesn't have anything but luggage. He's chanting Hare Krishna. And this other devotee, he's traveling with 2 suitcases. But you don't know that in the suitcase he has, like I remember one sannyasi, that he was criticized because he has many luggage. So I was wondering what was in his luggage. So I asked him. I have a good relationship, so, and to tell the devotees then. And he had all gifts for devotees, like he had dhoti saris for the Matajis, like everything. So when he went to India, and then he came to Argentina, bringing all things for devotees, in meditation. But in order to bring that, he had to go through the airport, even walk in India with all this, being criticized, not probably by many people saying, oh, what is this? Sannyas, look, all these suitcases that he's having. But they are willing to, they are humble, they are willing to even be criticized in order to serve the devotees. The same like Srila Prabhupada, he wasn't concerned on his own reputation. He would say, no, I don't want anyone to see me entering in the bank because they will criticize me, and nobody will think I am a great acharya. No, the great acharya shouldn't behave like this. No, he was doing whatever he has to do for Krishna. Even though it may harm his reputation, but he was serving Krishna. Okay, I think I'll have other things, but it's almost 8:30, so if there is any comments or questions, there's...
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for the class. Very nice class. You mentioned how it's very it's easy to get confused, and I understand what you mean, because just the way you kind of, in the context of using the words renunciation and tapasya, it kind of confused me. So I just wanted to know, I have another question as well, but the first one is, what is the difference between renunciation and tapasya?
Okay. In Srimad Bhagavatam is the word tapo divyam, putra kayena sadvan, instruction of Rishabhadev. Human life is meant for tapasya. Tapasya is austerity. So in doing your service, there will be many obstacles or difficult situations that you do for serving Krishna. So tapa means like when you wake up very early in the morning, even if you are tired, you wake up, that's a kind of tapasya. And when it's meant for Krishna, it's called tapodivya. And renunciation, the word is vairagya. They are related, they are connected, because you cannot practice tapasya if you are not renounced. In the sense like, how can you... I mean, if the opposite to being renounced is to be attached to something, or to have a habit, for instance. If your service requires that if you are very enchanted with sleeping 12 hours, but the tapasya means that you wake up at 3 o'clock, or 3:30, or 4 o'clock in the morning, then by doing the austerity, automatically, like, you have to renounce to something. So you have to renounce to sleeping more time. So it can apply for many things. So in that way, they are connected.
Yeah, that kind of explains. I just, I kind of wanted the essence of it. Thank you. And the other one is one of the points you mentioned in the beginning about just neglecting prasad or criticizing others. I'm just curious about, because in the nectar of instruction in the first text, something while I was reading it, it kind of confused me is um, when Srila Prabhupada quotes Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and then explaining Bhaktivinoda Thakur's text, he says that Lord Chaitanya said not to accept palatable dishes even while eating prasad. I was just wondering if you could explain that a little bit.
Yes. First, you have to understand that there are always levels of instructions. No? So, for instance, take that instruction. One should not accept delicious plates. First timer guests come to the Sunday feast. That instruction apply? No? They come, they are eating meat, no? And they come, and then you offer them a cheesecake in the temple. And then, he said, no, I shouldn't eat delicious plates. I just read in the book that I bought. No? You take prasad. And so the principle is that we take prasad always, food offered to Krishna. But once you are following that principle of taking prasad, suppose that you cook, no, and then you can cook a regular meal for the deities, but then you say, oh, what is delicious for you, no? And say, okay, I think the deities, they want pizza, no? Or the deities want this, and deities, you start just putting your taste and instead of cooking for Krishna, you are cooking for you. You can follow that. Or again, like if you go to Mayapur, there are many kinds of prasad. No? You can find cakes, pizza, a lot of things. And if you become absorbed not in the prasad, the Mahaprasad, but in the delicious prasad, you have to buy it, you have to pay for it. And so suppose you want to, instead of thinking in prasad, you're just thinking in eating cake, which is very delicious. So you see that this connection, it's not about taking prasad, it's about you're gathering in Mayapur. Do you have $1? I need to get Mahaprasad. No? You're just one relish the aspect of being delicious, but maybe it's not necessarily the prasad. And especially if you have many years in Krishna consciousness, and you're just dealing, your mind is only dealing with this, then maybe you have to rethink. What am I doing? Maybe I should go take prasad, regular prasad with all the devotees and be peaceful and do some service for the deity. Instead of being all day thinking how I can take a delicious plate. But then in temple settings, suppose the Vishwakarma Prabhu cooks a wonderful feast for all the devotees. No? So he spent hours cooking, all other devotees. No? We have many other cooks also. No, that they do for Raj Bhoga. No? They do something very nice, it's opulent, it's delicious. And then they cook, and then the devotees come and say, oh, I don't eat delicious prasad. And so first of all, it's Mahaprasad from the deity. So, and other things that you are accepting the love of the devotee who were cooking that. The opposite will be, Prabhu, you never do delicious prasad, you should cook for us a wonderful feast. No? That's been attached to the delicious plate. You are made them come. It's not that they come because they were offered to Krishna, but you are said we should have a meeting. We should have a meeting because there is no cakes in 2 months. So we should have a cheesecake party. That's the meeting. So then that's a problem. But if you didn't plan, you're in the temple, and then one devotee, out of love, he said, I want to make a feast for Krishna and the devotees. And then they are giving you, and you say, look at Upadeshamrita, it's purport, and you read the verse, and say, I'm sorry, Prabhu, I cannot take this. You're just trying to make me fall down. No? Like that. So you will offend the devotee. You know? They spend hours cooking and then say, why should I cook this? And I thought the brahmachari will be happy, no? Or this is the grihastha, everyone. And now I have to throw it away, all the prasad. So there are, sometimes even eating delicious may be an austerity, and sometimes you have to reject a delicious plate because of the situation. Maybe sometimes there is a delicious prasad and you have to serve. You serve to the devotee and then there is no more. Just simply, so very. And then if you become upset, then you are attracted. That will be bad. Like you can, no, everybody eats the cake and nothing for me. No, and then you are offending the devotees. So it's like a common sense, no? It's common sense, but these instructions are there, and of course, and we always have to be careful. A comment?
Sure. I just appreciate that it's ironic that there are Mayavadis criticizing Srila Prabhupada for externals when they're claiming everything is illusion. And yet they are the ones criticizing for external features of what a sannyasi ought to be.
But even some practitioners of Vaishnavism criticize Prabhupada.
Well, certainly they are.
Like
yes.
I've got brothers, and the Upadeshamrita, he mentioned that.
Yes.
Because he was even, for instance, giving initiation to Americans, giving Brahmana initiation to people who was not born in India. So therefore, Rupa Goswami, Prabhupada put as an argument that said that everything can be used in the service of Krishna. So even your body it can be used. So regardless where you're born.
That's right, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was criticized for using the printing press, like
exactly.
modern technology.
Exactly.
He said, "This is my Brihat Mridanga."
Hare Krishna. Prabhu, thank you for your class. I have a comment and then a question. One point I appreciate about Prabhupada regarding this purport is in his own life, is that he went to the doctor, and the doctor essentially, you know the story, I don't know where it could be found, but they said, you swamis pray too much. So the doctor was saying, you devotees, instead of just exercising for your mind, you need to exercise your body. And for us, it's usually the opposite. We need to generally exercise our mind instead of just our body. And that's kind of one point I appreciate. It's an important point. And one realization I also had is that a lot of times our Christian consciousness is usually dependent on others maintaining our consciousness. Like, for example, one realization I appreciate is that we would never ask someone to feed us food, first of all. It's your responsibility to feed me food. It's your responsibility to pay my bills or give me clothes. Or one thing, is we would never ask someone is that we pass stool. We would never ask anyone to, Yeah, you get the point. So that's usually, but that's the tendency, is that when we ask others to respect us, it's your responsibility to respect me. If you don't respect me and honor me, then I'll never be happy. That's like saying I'll never feed myself unless you feed myself. I'll never wipe my backside unless you wipe my backside. And so my question is that only children do that. Only babies do that. It's your responsibility to feed me food or to change my diapers. So what are some steps we could do to, because that's the tendency, is that when people are trying to offer their gratitude or people like complain about so many minor things, people are getting murdered in class or being outside and people are getting raped. And then we still have these minor problems in like Bhagavatam class or among devotees that, oh, Prabhu, you talk too much, or you need to calm down, or you need so many complaints.
Like petty things.
Yeah, petty things. But people are getting murdered outside. and we're trying our best to serve Krishna to the best of our ability. And the tendencies that you mentioned, that people do have external vision of people. You know, you can't get away from that. It's that you'll never ask a sannyasi, Mr. Sannyasi, can you shorten your questions, or can you be more respectful for this? But the tendency is that, you know, we think we could talk to anyone we like because we see externally, just like we mentioned Rupa Goswami's Nectar of Instruction. So he was mentioning that. So what are some steps we could do to grow up and stop making our happiness dependent on other people? You have to do what I say, you have to respect me. Everyone's responsible for their own happiness. Nobody's dependent on that. That doesn't mean you don't respect people, but you disagree with people and you have to tolerate. That's why Lord Chaitanya says tolerate and appreciate devotees instead of criticizing. So what are some steps we could do to grow up?
To stop criticizing. Yeah.
Our happiness should be dependent on Krishna and not control this shit.
Yeah, basically you put under the direction of someone who grew up, who is a grown up. So that's the only way. I mean, you never will see a child growing up by himself, like, so they have someone who they can follow. And that's the way they grow up, because they follow. A child, if a child idea is that he will never go to school, he will eat sweets all day, so they need someone's intelligence to guide them. They will say, no, you do this, and they may become upset, and then they will rectify. So a way to grow up is to you put under others' direction and you try to follow. And then in devotional service especially. And if some devotees are correcting, we try to take it as a correction and reflect on that correction, and that's the way you can grow up in the practices. And everything that is happening in your life, like, is, you can see also as a Krishna teaching, lessons. So if there is reflection, you think about an issue, an exchange you have, a bad exchange you have with a devotee, then you reflect, what happened here? So what I did wrong, like that. But being in an environment with devotees, supervised, that's a way to grow up. Okay, we are not never supervised. It's difficult. Therefore, either you have in the Grihastha ashram, person are supervised, because they rely on each other. So therefore, there is problems sometimes. And in Brahmachari ashram, the same. You have to rely on another. Therefore, there are frictions, because what you do, somebody tell you something. But if you just want to do something only in myself, nobody will tell you anything. And then if somebody tells you something, you become upset. Someone becomes upset because you just want to be alone. But actually, the part of the growing is conflict. It will be, conflict, exactly. If you try to avoid conflict, then there is no way to grow up. But therefore, if you just take the society as a whole, there's always conflict. If you take just ISKCON, there is always conflict, but from each conflict, people start growing up. And if you see the life of devotees in the Bhagavatam, there are conflict among people also. And then you see the great quality of the devotees is being shown there. They grow after this. So stay with others in association and have someone else, other people to give you direction. Then you can grow and try to follow. That's
I'm just kind of wondering, based on that question, like how important it is, like to, like the platform of Srimad Bhagavatam to like stay on topic, and not like a platform to necessarily say anything and everything, or like it's a classroom setting, like to stay on topic of what the verse is speaking about, and like, is that essential for what we're doing in the Bhagavatam, or is it like an open question answer thing where we can?
You can answer. I mean, do you mean you're asking a question about asking a question, or you're asking this question? You're doing a preamble to ask a question that is not related to the topic, or you're asking that question? You understand? So we're supposed to be in topic in the Bhagavatam. Yes. Now the topics of Bhagavatam, they are open to, they can lead you to many other subtopics, and finally all the topic is to develop Krishna consciousness. But there is a verse, you have to give a class, you try to stick to that verse as far as you allow. But Srila Prabhupada said that each verse in either Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam, you can see from many different angles, different points of view. So therefore the same verse can be given by many, or explained for different realizations. No? What they have, but all the realization have to be in line with the acharyas. In case, in ISKCON, we just read Prabhupada, and then Prabhupada is purpose or inspire some thoughts that are there. And then you take some points. But in Bhagavatam, there is no politics. No, like one example, a good example of being in topic of Bhagavatam, I think is His Holiness Ramapada Swami. Because he as a GBC, he has to deal with so many things, and it's very easy that if you are dealing with so many things, the administration, things of the society, that may filter in a class. But when he's giving class, that he's just focused on the topic of the Bhagavatam, you never will tell that he's concerned with administration and doing many other things, because you just imagine that he's all day just reading Bhagavatam. But the reality is that he has to deal with so many things, answer emails, travel, question. But when he's in the Bhagavatam, he just sticks to Srimad Bhagavatam, and that's very difficult. It's not easy. Okay. That was your question? Answer the question? Okay, Srila Prabhupada ki, Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki.